कुमार स्वामी नायक गोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, PM urges landowners to make the right move. Water woes to deepen if current weather continues. And I was scared, says rapist on court appearance.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spade.
Landowners have the right over their land and it is upon them to decide what they do with it. However, they are being encouraged to utilise it to grow Fiji's agricultural sector. Prime Minister Vorengem Bainimarama made this remark on Radio Fiji 1's Talkback show, Non the Prime Minister, where he urged Itauke landowners not to be swayed by cheap politicians who continue to spread rumours that lease land is not safe anymore. Apinisa Wangarandovo reports the Prime Minister is reiterating once again that lease land is protected under the Land Use Act.
The Prime Minister says no one is ever being forced to have their land put on lease, either to the Itauke Land Trust Board or the Land Bank.
Landowners have all the right to decide whether to put their lands in the land bank or to give it to the Itauke Land Trust Board to manage it. No one is forcing anyone like what some politicians are saying.
Bainimarama says a mutual understanding exists, and while some landowners have taken their land back, there are other requests which are pending assessments.
Trustees can always come back and ask to terminate the lease if after 5 years the land on lease has not been utilized. So far, one land in Raina Mosi have been returned to landowners, and the land bank also have other requests. Most of them want to move their land to the Itauke Land Trust Board, even though 60% of Matangali have agreed to have this land on lease. We have to respect the decision, especially that it's their land. But whether the land is with TLTB or land bank, I can assure it is safe under the Land Use Act and will never be taken away.
The Prime Minister, whilst encouraging landowners to give up their land on lease and improve their livelihood from returns, he has also encouraged them to take advantage of government assistance and cultivate their land.
The Ministry of Agriculture has been allocated 63 million. From this 33.7 million is especially for landowners and farmers to cultivate their land and even venture into commercial farming. If you are not aware of what assistance is available for farmers, visit any office of the Ministry of Agriculture. Vacant lands need to be utilized especially to help one's family and also for the economy.
So far, there are 75 land which is leased under the land bank, and $11 million has been paid out to landowners. Bainimarama stresses whether land are on lease or cultivated by owners, either way it should help improve their livelihood, which in turn contributes to the economy. Apinisa Wangarandovo, FBC News.
Water restriction is in the pipeline if the current dry weather spell around the country continues. This comes on the day the Water Authority of Fiji revealed that its plants in Suva are at times producing water beyond their design capacity because of an increase in demand. As Kritika Kumar reports, the authority is once again urging Fijians to use water wisely.
Despite the continuous best efforts of WEF, the current dry weather conditions is sending alarm bells ringing.
We need to put some water restrictions in place, and that's, apart from trying to work with the community in all places, we just have to reduce our water.
WEF says the situation is not helped when Fijians are using water at an accelerating rate on a daily basis. For example, in the Greater Suva area, an average of 238 litres of water is consumed by a person on a daily basis, which is 87 litres more than the average daily use by a person in Queensland.
There's always a demand for water, particularly in the COVID world we live in, and we're very, very conscious of that. So we have the growing corridor between Suva and Nassau is phenomenal growth with over 400,000 people around that area there as well.
WEF is already feeling the effect on its system, resulting in water disruptions to many areas, and Fijians are being urged to conserve water to keep the number of disruptions down. Some we spoke to say that excessive usage is because of the rural to urban drift.
Most probably due to rural-urban drift, the water usage has increased for the past compared to the past few years.
For washing dishes and washing clothes and all, and keeping our homes clean, bring mopping and all, and the sector.
I think the water usage is increased.
The West is not spared either. As Omutsan says, water levels at the Vaturu Dam in Nandi is also depleting, and they are only about 2 meters away from reaching the critical level. The Northern Division has had similar issues with Nasya Levu, which serves as one of the water sources for Lambasa, and Tavyuni has also been affected by the dry weather. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
The Fiji Women's Crisis Centre has welcomed the second highest rape sentence handed to a 45-year-old man earlier this week. The man was sentenced to life imprisonment in absentia for raping and sexually assaulting his 10-year-old stepdaughter. Less than 72 hours after his sentence, the man who ran away from court on the day of his trial was arrested from Deepwater in Tailevu yesterday afternoon. Pranita Prakash reports.
During a 3-day trial, this 45-year-old man was convicted of 6 counts of rape and 2 counts of sexual assault. He was produced in the Suva High Court this morning, where he informed the court that he had turned up for his trial but got scared and ran away before the trial commenced. The court heard that the rape and sexual assault happened between 2014 and 2018. The victim, who is now 17 years old, told the court during the trial that her stepfather had preyed on her over a prolonged period. She was only 10 years old when the attacks began, and the accused continued to sexually abuse her until she was 15. Fiji Women's Crisis Centre Coordinator Shamima Ali has welcomed the lengthy sentence.
Hope that the court will take its cue from this and other judges to treat rape as a very serious offence. In the meantime, while we do not have realistic and evidence-based rehabilitation of rapists in the prison, the consistency and the length of time should reflect the seriousness of the crime. The general public also believes a harsh prison term for rape is necessary to deter those who indulge in this filthy act.
He deserves life imprisonment for what he did.
Victims deserve justice, and also, yes, because rape is a hideous crime.
Life imprisonment, it should depend on the nature of the rape.
The man will spend the rest of his life behind bars with a non-parole period of 43 years and 11 months. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
More opposition SEDELPA MPs are being questioned by the Fiji Independent Commission Against Corruption. Ratu Suliano Matanitamboa and Andi Litiang Gioni Baravi were questioned at the FICAC office today. Matanitamboa and Gioni Baravi are part of a group of MPs alleged to have claimed travel and accommodation allowances they were not entitled to, and in doing so, breached the Parliamentary Remuneration Act 2014. The United States President Donald Trump has conveyed his appreciation to Fijian Prime Minister Voreqe Bainimarama for his congratulatory remarks on the country's 244th Independence Day anniversary. Trump conveyed the gratitude of the American people to Bainimarama for his thoughtful remarks. The message was delivered by the United States Ambassador to Fiji, Joseph Sella, during a courtesy call on the Prime Minister this morning. In his letter, Trump said the 4th of July is an important day for America as they reflect their nation's history and proud traditions of democracy and freedom. Fiji and the U.S. formalized bilateral relations in 1971, and since then, the collaboration between the two countries have expanded into areas of socio-economic development, defense and security, and people-to-people links. Up ahead, education funding will continue, assures Minister, and donation to assist 200 children in Levuka.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Education Minister Rosie Akbar says no school should be levying any sort of fees on students. Speaking in Vunimoli, Lambasa, she highlighted the government's support for education despite revenue issues caused by COVID-19. Edwin Nunn reports.
The minister says for the next 12 months, there will be no problems in terms of funding education.
We do not want any management or schools to levy any form of school fees on our children. For this financial year, we are sorted. When the next financial year comes, and God knows what the situation would be.
Akbar adds they have also managed to keep the free bus fare program for students. However, levies for parent-teacher associations are not controlled by the ministry.
Sometimes we receive complaints from parents or the managements are levying a PTA, but that's between the management and the parents. We have no say in that. If you have a PTA, and if the PTA decides that parents are going to be levied, that's between the Parent Teachers Association and the management and the community. We don't come in.
Meanwhile, Akbar recently opened a new school block at the Vunimoli Islamia College in the north. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
With illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing becoming a global threat, the U.S. Coast Guard is committed to keeping Fiji's exclusive economic zone safe. Docked at the Suva port for the next 3 days, the U.S. Coast Guard Cutter Kimball made a stop in Fiji to refuel, replenish stores and allow crew members a chance to rest. Commander Constantine says the ship has been at sea for over 30 days and all crew members have undergone COVID-19 tests before entering our borders. He says the crew will stay on board as they have developed new procedures for operating.
Crews, before they embark ships, are put in isolation, strict individual isolation, monitored. They are completely tested 100% for COVID before they embark the vessel. Once they're on the ship at sea, the ship has been at sea for over 30 days. They've had 2 COVID tests during that time with 100% negative test results.
U.S. Ambassador to Fiji Joseph Sella, in welcoming the ship and crew, spoke of the U.S. naval commitment to protecting the territorial waters of the Pacific region. Children from more than 200 families in Levuka Ovala will benefit from stationery donated to the Foundation for the Education of Needy Children. Vens Fiji National Coordinator Priya Lata says the assistance was donated by HFC Bank through a stationery drive held amongst their staff. Lata says the donation of stationery will be able to assist families provide for their children's school needs. HFC Bank General Manager Credit Bimal Sudhakar says education is key to the success of the economy and they're committed to making a difference for families affected by COVID-19. Vens Fiji has assisted 3,500 children so far this year.
We will be giving it out to those children who are affected by this COVID pandemic and also those who are still affected by TC Herod. Majority of this will go to Ovala this time, and we have scheduled the distribution in next 2 or 3 weeks.
To New Zealand, a brutal calculated massacre in Christchurch that took 51 lives. And for that, he will never walk free again. 29-year-old Australian Brenton Tarrant has been jailed for life without parole. The first time this maximum penalty has ever been used in New Zealand. And Whitney joins us now with the latest in business.
Thanks, Jackie. In business tonight, inflation reached a historic low in June. And in growing Fiji, Ministry prepares for another round of seeds distribution. Stay with us.
Pula natang ko aproslan ngarse, go erkraki. Do televizyon na barong na Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Inflation reached a historic low of negative 3.5% in the June quarter of this year, according to the latest economic review by the Reserve Bank of Fiji. The RBF says this is a result of lower prices for food and non-alcoholic beverages, alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics, housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels. It also highlighted that price pressures will be muted due to low commodity prices and the recent reduction in taxes and duties announced in the national budget. Liquidity in the banking system increased by 27.4% over the quarter to 751.8 million, largely driven by increased RBF's holdings of government bonds. Interest rates remain generally low over the period. The overall performance of commercial banks, credit institutions, and insurance industry and other financial corporations remains satisfactory and supports financial stability. American Airlines says its workforce will shrink by 40,000, including 19,000 involuntary cuts in October. It says this will go ahead unless the government extends aid for airline employee payrolls. Sharon from HFC Bank joins us now with the latest from the money market.
Australia's second quarter private capital expenditure report shows a drop in spending and has generated expectations it could fall by as much as 40%. The data feeds into next week's national accounts for the June quarter and are expected to confirm that Australia suffered its first recession in almost 3 decades as a result of the pandemic. The US dollar has tumbled near its lowest level of the week. Investors are waiting to see if the US Federal Reserve will introduce a new policy framework to fight persistent low inflation when Fed Chair Jerome Powell addresses the annual Central Bankers Conference tomorrow. New economic data shows orders for American-made capital goods increased in July. The economic pace slowed from June's robust gains, suggesting the rebound in businesses' investment will be gradual amid the uncertainty of the pandemic. And that's all from HSC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Looking at today's local exchange rates as set this morning, the Fiji dollar was pegged higher against both the Chinese yuan and the US greenback, and also made gains against the euro and the yen. But as usual, when the US dollar is going down, the Fiji dollar also falls against regional currencies like the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, as well as the kina. Commodities were on the rise. Crude oil prices continue to hover above $43 per barrel. Gold was up $18 at $1,944 per ounce, and silver closed up at $27.20 an ounce. The Agricultural Minister will be targeting 20,000 more home gardeners during its next round of its seeds distribution program. Beginning September 1st and for the following 4 months, Fijians will be given seeds for tomatoes, cabbage, eggplant, long beans, French beans and okra. Minister Dr. Mahendra Reddy says interested Fijians can visit any of their offices, provide a valid identification card and pick up their seed packages. Reddy adds the government is now focused on encouraging new households who missed out during the first round of distributions to begin home gardening. The seed distribution program is a bid to promote food security and expand commercial agriculture. That's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Thanks, Whitney, and good evening. In Sports Tonight, ball in play lacking in Skipper Cup, and teenager relishing opportunities in National Football Camp. This and more coming up.
Bula FM number 2 NSR.
Bula FM number 2 NSR.
Some interesting statistics have come out of the first 5 rounds of Skipper Cup competition. Fiji Rugby Union Chief Executive John O'Connor says Flying Fijians head coach Vern Cotter and his coaching panel are analyzing matches, and one area lacking with teams is the duration of ball in play, which is well behind the desired time for international matches. He adds that selected players in the Skipper Cup have GPS trackers on them to help collect data.
Interestingly, coach identified that in our Skipper Cup competition, ball in play is just around 20 minutes. Saying at international level, we should be looking at 40 minutes. So he has identified the work-on areas for our coaching, accredited coaching people like Kohli to start discussing with the provincial coaches.
Yet to register a win in the Skipper Cup, the Sawa Marlins know how crucial their match against Nandronga is on Saturday. However, as they approach the midway mark of the season, the results have not been all doom and gloom for the newcomers. Aquila Dama reports.
They may be competing against 7 of the best teams in the Skipper Cup, but Sawa has shown they are not just making up the numbers.
Quite an experience after five games that we went through.
There's a long way to go in the competition, and Sawa can turn things around.
You know, Sawa at the moment is running 7th after 5 rounds of competition, and you know, as I said, we are not halfway through the competition yet. You know, anything can happen in the next 10 weeks.
Standing in the Marlins' way this week is Nandronga.
We know Nandronga will be playing in their home ground. and they'll have the support, homegrown support. We're going to try our best.
Yasawa also received a timely boost today with a naming rights sponsorship.
Now they'll be known as the Bluegrass Yasawa Marlins. This sponsorship came along to help the boys.
Yasawa will play Nandronga at 3 p.m. on Saturday at Lawanga Park in Singatoka. Aquila FBC Sports. Some national men's sevens players have formed their own team to compete in the 44th Fiji Better Maris Sevens tournament. Maris Rugby President Lawrence Tikaram confirms these players will represent Mizuno Barbers. Tali Materkula reports.
A few national sevens players were unable to register under any club for the Maris Sevens tournament.
We had a call from some of the 7 players who don't have a registered club to play for, since they've been heavily involved in some of the Skipper Cup clubs and provinces. They've formed a team under the Mizuno Barbers. They'll be participating in the Fiji Better Maris Sevens.
The Mizuno Barbers, along with another 15 teams, are the newcomers in the top local sevens competition.
That we have 16 new teams that have made the final cut of the 48. A lot of them no strangers to the tournament. Teams like Nambua Rugby, Yamadi have made a comeback. Uprising. We have other teams coming from Lotoka, the Nabutu Barbers.
Meanwhile, Pacific Energy has jumped on board with around $10,000 sponsorship.
This would be our 8th year going that Pacific Energy has partnered with Maris Sevens. Now, rugby tournaments and every year, this 2-day tournament gets exciting day by day. And what we've seen is that the tournament itself has brought out many champion players, and that's why we are very proud to be supportive of this tournament.
48 men's, 12 youths and 8 women's teams have confirmed their participation in the tournament. The 44th Fiji Better Maris Sevens will be played from the 24th to the 26th of next month at ANZ Stadium in Suva. Tali Materkula, FBC Sports.
The Get Into Rugby program received some much-needed assistance today from the Australian government. High Commissioner to Fiji, John Feeks, handing over equipment to the Fiji Rugby Union. This donation will aid the Get Into Rugby program aimed at grassroots development. Training alongside Fiji football captain Roy Krishna has been a dream come true for Navua's 17-year-old striker Thomas Dunn. Dunn is part of the 30-member Fiji football squad that's assembled at the Fiji FA Academy in Ba, preparing for the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 qualifiers. Out to make his family proud, Dunn says he will not rest until he puts on the white jersey and represents Fiji. Karalaini Tavi has more.
The shy teenager is enjoying himself at the training camp as he is learning a lot from the likes of Roy Krishna.
I was very happy because Roy Krishna was part of that team too. And learn from him.
The nippy striker says he is grasping as much as he can during training sessions, which he can apply when playing for Navua.
That's my defending and passing. Sometimes I pass, like hold the ball too much. Coach told me to release first time.
Fiji national football head coach Fleming Shadislav has brought in a mix of young players in the squad.
D has been the base for selecting the players this time, and we have not selected the young players because they are young, but we have selected them because they have been playing very well.
Dunn will also be in action for Navua when they take on Nandi at 1 p.m. on Sunday in the Vodafone Premier League clash at Prince Charles Park. Karalaini Tavi, FBC Sports.
Lionel Messi has told Barcelona he wants to leave the football club immediately. The announcement has put Europe's top clubs on alert for a potential transfer of the 6-time World Player of the Year. In Play of the Day, flying Fijian Semi Randrandra was at his best despite his Bristol Bears side going down to Exeter in the English Premiership yesterday. That's it from Sports Tonight. In new media, Vivo has returned to the premium segment with the release of its X50 Pro. Take a look at some of its features after the break. Stay with us.
Hi, Bula. I'm Selai from Nandi. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
In new media tonight, check out the new X50 Pro smartphone. And it's weather time now with Angie.
Malolelele and welcome to the weather world. We are experiencing the sunny trend that has lasted for a while now. The entire country is under sunny skies and it sure feels great. Now let's see how humid these centers actually were. In the west, it's more drier now. The mountains look dry and so does the fields. Few showers could do a huge favor here. Temps rise to 36 degrees in a day. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, sunny and warm. The night will have much more cooler conditions. And up north, bright and little patchy clouds circulating. The night can expect a few flurries. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. Now to the tides, low tide at 7:44 p.m. with high tide at 2:05 a.m. Sunrise at 6:16. For tomorrow, it will be much like today. Tomorrow's temps will have 31 degrees by day and drop to 18 by night. And looking further on to Saturday, more sunny spells awaiting in the bag. That's all the weather news from my end. It's back to Jackie.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fiji on Pulse, we asked, should all nightclubs be turned into pubs?
Yes, I think it's a good idea so that employees can get their jobs back. Yes, because it will benefit the workers.
I think nightclubs should operate as bars for the sake of their employees.
It's better to have it as bars because nightclubs are not safe.
In the world of the weird and the wonderful, in Japan, human bones discovered at an old gravesite are those of people believed to have died during an epidemic. Recapping the main stories for tonight, PM urges landowners to make the right move. Water woes to deepen if current weather continues. And I was scared, says rapist on court appearance. For these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question we're asking, have you seen an ease in traffic congestion after road repairs along the Suva-Nausori corridor? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day this beautiful afternoon was captured by Tony Kali. And you can send us newsworthy pictures to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj via Facebook page FBC News and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, from the team and I, stay safe. Modamanda.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.